add $600,000 SGF for respite care funding for individuals with Alzheimer's disease. Yes.
The healthcare stabilization budget is also up.
Oh, yeah, forgot about it. I didn't even bring it. We'll try to get it done when we're done. We can do that one at the rail. Okay. So, is there somebody here from the Alzheimer's Association? Are you able to answer any questions or not? Okay, well, you can take back to her the questions. I'm going to support it, but my question has to do with how that is distributed through the aging, areas on aging, okay? So, and senators, we have a lot to do, so if it's all right with you, if there's consensus, can we just do that? And then if we're divided, then we'll do a formal vote, okay? So, so consensus on Alzheimer's, $600,000. Okay. All right, so we'll add $600,000 SGF to the Alzheimer's Disease Association. Next item is add 10 million SGF for core funding for the area agencies on aging. Now, I did a little bit of background on this, and their past requests have been mostly Meals on Wheels and some things like that. So this is an increase in their traditional funding. And I would make a recommendation to do half of that. But again, it's the will of the committee. Half? Then add language to study the capacity issues for HCBS services provided under the frail elderly waiver to make recommendations and expand these services. Is anybody here that would like to come to the podium and give us a little more information on that? Leading age? All right, I don't see any. Please come forward.
Hi, Kylie Childs, Director of Government Affairs with Leading Age Kansas. We just included that in our testimony because of the case study we brought forward to try and figure out how we can get rates back up to meet what the actual costs are for HCBS frail elderly waiver.
So is this going to be an internal study, or would this be like an interim study? Because we have a few items that are all related.
It would be an interim study is what we were anticipating.
Okay. How does everybody feel about that? Study on the rates, okay. Thank you. Appropriate funding to close the gap between Medicaid rates and the actual cost of care for the individuals on FE, frail and elderly. Seems like this comes up later.
It does.
It does? Okay. So I'm going to pass on this one because I think it's going to come up later on in our sheets. Continue the Medicaid add-on payment to nursing facilities based on the number of Medicaid patients served to take care of all the caseloads. I believe that, yes, it's $23 million. Where's everybody at on that one? Is this,
It's 23, yeah, 69 million. All funds, 23.4.
is this different than the what do you call it? Rebasing?
Two different.
Questions? I would maybe recommend half, and that next year, before the request is made again, that we have a report on this, because I don't see that we have any good information. Is that all right? Okay, so 1 year, half 1 year plus report. Yeah, you have something?
Well, I know that this amount that's, I mean, well, I guess I'll go on to I know that the 57.8 million that's included in the governor's budget, it helps with the facilities that rebase and transition into the PDPM model. That the number 5, that Medicaid add-on, that, just is helping to keep them open. So I think this might be a starting point to get more information.
Yeah,
But for sure, we need to keep the number 6.
right. If it is about keeping them open, we need to have more information on that. So, okay, you don't have any changes, or you just made a comment. Okay, thank you. Number 6 is fully fund the nursing home rebase, and this is already in the governor's budget. Number 7, add 570,900, including 285 SGF to fund 7 positions in the Behavioral Health Commission. Governor did not recommend. I don't believe I have a good understanding of how this is going to be used. So, no. Leave it like it is, yep. It wasn't included anyway. Okay, add 1.2 million SGF Olmsted navigators to implement the requirement 6 of the NFMH pre-litigation settlement agreement. No. So I'm going to say no. Support 1.5 million for family treatment courts. This item is included in the governor's budget. And it convenes a work group study as well. Well, that's the next one. Convene a work group study to the opening of rehab codes and others. And members of the work group should include KDADS, KDHE. Okay, so I have a question for the agency. Would you want to do a study or a group to study these codes? And it looks like it has, agency representation. Is this something that you would entertain at all to be quasi and have some legislators on it or not? I'm just trying to think about what's beneficial to them understanding this next year.
I think what our intention had been, Senator, was to do a work group with the association related to some concerns they had related to opening of the rehab codes. I think this recommendation actually came from the association to do a broader piece. I mean, we would be happy certainly to brief the legislature or engage with legislators in any appropriate way as we have those conversations.
So if we say yes, it just means you all will be participating in this study.
Yes.
All right, okay. I'm fine. increase the cap on the lottery vending machines revenue. Let's see here. Yeah, so I think that they're currently receiving 8 million, and there's up to 12 million in there. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, so last year they had a 1 year, 1 million to make it 9 million, and then there was a House bill to take it to 12. So I would propose to keep it at the 9 million until there's more information from the bill. Okay. For 1 year. Support expansion of the state institutional alternative program. I need more information. Support ongoing funding for suicide prevention services. Support the addition of employment and benefits coordinator position. Support the proposed mental health bus tour. Since Ways and Means proposed it, I'll be supporting that. Did you get that information on the money? I forgot it. Again, what I explained to you is mostly paying legislators. Okay. Add 2 million SGF primary care services for CMHCs, CCBHCs in counties not served by HQHCs or lookalikes. $2 million support. Okay. Add language to direct KDADS and KDHE to conduct a study of areas of Kansas currently underserved by primary care safety net clinics. The study should include such topics as lack of primary care for rural and frontier counties, lack of primary care access for individuals with severe mental illness, barriers to increasing primary care, studies to increasing access to care, and able to access state federal funding to increase primary care.
I think that's just an extension of number 17.
Okay.
So that we have a better idea. Yeah, but who can provide, the number 17 where we said we'd add the 2 million for primary care in those counties where there are not any.
And then they'll do a study too,
Well,
or not?
I think they're asking for a study, but I mean, it's an extension of what was asked for with the 2 million. That would not, they want us to do a study. Direct KDHE and KDHE to conduct a study so we can have a better idea what CMHCs have those services in their area and which ones don't have a primary care safety net services. Because that's what that 2 million is going to help.
I know, but it seems like you could look on a map and figure that out to me. But so now I'm back to that 2 million. I don't know how that's going to get doled out. Who wants to come talk to us about that? Kyle?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. On the issue relating to the $2 million, I think our original request which ended up being rounded up to the 2 million, was for 1.95 million, believing that 6 grants of $325,000 in areas where the counties were uncovered with primary care safety net services, and being able to subsidize services through nurse practitioners or televideo at existing mental health clinics. That was our proposal there, and connected to that, as I think Senator Petty was mentioning, the proviso then looks at whether there are existing alternatives to also providing federal partnership opportunities, because I think that there's someone from the Community Care Network Association here, but I don't believe that there have been new federally qualified health centers designated for really quite some time. So this is just looking at what opportunities there might be for partnerships in those areas that are currently totally unserved or where there's no intention right now of going to provide
Looks
services.
like we have the cart before the horse. Shouldn't we just go ahead and do the study? And then, because, I mean, 2 million, I don't really know how it's going to get dispersed.
Yeah, our idea was to disperse that through KDADS. So they have currently a work group that's been convened to look at how to provide behavioral health into existing primary care clinics. And then our thought was looking at areas where there are currently no primary care services existing and putting those into mental health centers. So our thought was that they go hand in hand.
Questions for Kyle? I have a question for the secretary. So, I mean, you have your distribution world in your head better than I do, but I'm trying to, do you see a situation where, based on your rules, regs, or your process of how you dole out the money, that it's possible that that would only come up to $700,000 or 1.2, or is it going to be something where, hey, we got this money, we're going to adjust everything to make sure we can get it out there?
You know, I think the request from the association, they had looked at specific counties where there weren't FQHCs and were requesting that funding. Obviously, if we got a lesser amount of funding, we would work with them to identify either which areas to receive that funding or lesser amounts for those areas.
I'm saying if we give you the 2 million and you don't spend it, you'll make sure that that gets either removed or reappropriated, and we'll identify that.
Yes, we would keep the money isolated for the purpose for which you intended it, yes.
Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering how you came up with the $2 million amount without having a needs assessment already in place? And
Yeah, I might say, Senator, this is not an agency request. I mean, so this is not anything that we've requested. The association has asked for that funding for the community mental health centers, so.
is that something maybe, and Kyle, the second part of that question is, it seems to me that, you said there were like 6 grants of 300 and something thousand each, that the needs would not be identical in all of those counties, so why are the grant awards the same amount? So
Sure, and thank you, Senator. And we were averaging them out. So, for example, in looking at, I think, Elk or Chautauqua County, there's an area where they could send in 2 nurse practitioners, and that gets pretty close to $300,000 all in. And then there might be other areas where you send in a part-time primary care physician or something like that. So that could end up being more money. So the idea was to just average this out to see if we could spread it out across 6 areas: north central Kansas, southeast Kansas, western Kansas. Those are the areas where there are a lot of counties that are currently uncovered. So we were just averaging it out to be 6 grants of $325,000, knowing that with the agency's oversight, some might be higher, some might be lower.
And Madam Chair, how did you come up with the $2 million figure?
So it was approximately, again, 325,000 times 6 made it 1.95 million. I think that was our request.
Okay, I think we need a whole lot more information on this and the study, and so my suggestion would be that this gets moved to the omnibus budget. All right. We're ready for 19. support increases to substance use disorder reimbursement rates. And this is in the governor's budget, $6 million. Is that correct?
It's 19's not.
I'm on 19. Oh, 20 is, okay. This is not in the governor's budget, correct? I wish you analysts would just pull up a chair and just sit.
They made this request.
Didn't they?
5 million.
We'll pass over 19.
20's in the budget.
20 is in the budget, capital improvement enhancements. 21 is continue funding the 5 million payments to hospitals, law enforcement, and counties for observation and transportation of individuals awaiting transfer to the state hospital. Dayton,
It's also in the budget.
okay, but I just, way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so did we put on that was that a 5-year in a report? Because it was a minimal amount. I don't see Tara out there. She's hiding.
It's- reports.
No. There she is. How quickly people can tax. We're talking about the $5 million. Was that a limited amount of years and a report from last year?
So there was no reporting requirement that we're aware of at the end of the conversation, and it would just be until the $5 million is expended. So there's not an allocation on it. And we found out following my testimony from the agency that that's already in the agency budget. So you wouldn't have to put any language, it would just carry over.
Thank you. Number 22, support funding for state housing supports director. This item is included in the governor's budget. 23, support 40 million for housing grants in the governor's recommended budget. Whole thing? It is in the governor's budget.
There was, Madam Chair, there was a testimony from, I think it was Liberal, from smaller communities wanting to maybe have
Adjustment.
an adjustment within the funding that, because this is a one-to-one match as it is right now, and they were looking for some other possibility so it wouldn't be as
Similar
onerous
to
for a smaller community.
cost share for transportation program. Small towns don't have to give as much as the larger towns. Right.
60-40 or whatever.
Okay, so on number 23, support the 40 million. 24, add language to ensure portions of the 40 million housing grants are distributed to smaller communities. So that was that request. And so what we don't know, so it's just 1-to-1. So I would say by the time we package this budget, the committee needs to come up with some kind of a formula for smaller communities. So for example, the cost share on transportation, 25%, large communities, it's 15% for small communities. So this would be a different kind of a ratio, but I think before we report to, or before we package it, we need to have a ratio in there.
I think the other, Madam Chair, I think the other thing, at least from the testimony we have from Liberal, and I think there might be some others there too, but like, we know that Wichita is working on a project where they're wanting $20 million, and they have $20 million for a match already. So they're looking for something, a large facility, a large cost. Liberal was talking about expanding a facility that they already had in order to accommodate more people. So that kind of cost is much different than what we might see from a community, from the largest city in our state.
All right, so before we have that note that we need to figure out a formula. Correct. 26, add 5 million in grant funds to increase wages of 14C settings and to assist providers in providing competitive wages in anticipation of the federal government eliminating the 14C. 5 million request. I would support this for a 2-year transition and no more. Just 2, well, let's see, did they? So I'm going to change that to 2.5 in 24 and 5 in 25. Only. So for transition, 2-year deal. Support investing new SGF dollars into integrated employment settings. I have no notes on that. Let's see, is that? Doesn't this come up later? Is this the wage? Not sure. That's what I thought. So this is, we're going to pass over. I think this comes up again. Well, make sure we cover that by the time we're done. Restore CDDO discretionary support funds, 2.3, InterHab, IDD. I don't remember what that's for. This is our local CDDO. They want to increase it 2.3 million so that they can provide more services. Yeah, I saw that list. So how about 1 million? Right. I'd go 1 million, and then I hate to keep putting reports on people, but I think it's important to understand what they're using it for, because I believe you're right, there's about 15 to 20 different services, and I'd be curious what services are the most needed. Okay, 1 million. Add 600,000 SGF for operational support for Envision for 24, 25, and 26. Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the representative for Envision approached me and said that they would now like to request 1 year of 600,000, not for the 3 years, and that's to address 317 people on their wait list and their workforce center, but they have changed that to just requesting for 1 year at the current time.
I'm okay with that. All right, add 200,000 SGF for increased operational support for the Self-Advocate Coalition. This was, right. Okay, now I remember what this is. So based on the size of that organization, I would suggest 50,000. Because they have not had an increase. We'll find out how this might help. 31, add 2.4 million SGF for MIR for workforce projects. If you read MIR's background and their difficulty of keeping some employees and the fact that, and I don't have that in front of me, but they're in about 6 to 8 counties. I would support 1.8 million to figure out if that's going to make a difference, and then you guys can figure that out next year. Okay, so last year they got 1.6. So mine's 1.8. We can go 1.6 if you want. What do you guys do? Yes, no, 1.6? Okay, okay. All right, so we'll go with 1.8. Increase PACE rates back to 90% of state Medicaid rates, 1.9 million. Go ahead, Senator Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I've received an updated request from the representatives that is 2.4 million SGF they are now requesting due to some new numbers that they've received to get that to the 90% of the Medicaid reimbursement rate.
Consensus, 2.4. Okay. Number 33, add 500,000 SGF for aftercare services not covered by the standard PRTF rate. Ember Hope. I think in reading a little bit more about that, that's perhaps for family visits. And I would support half, 250,000. Support state employee pay. This is included in the governor's budget. 35, add 5 million SDF to fund 15 residents, child and adolescent psychiatric residencies, KU School of Medicine, Wichita. 5 million, support. Okay, here's where it gets complicated, I think. So at 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 44, not 42. All of these. So add the 5 million we already accepted on 35, and then add the 1 million SGF to fund 4 fellows for additional medicine training for physicians at KU School of Medicine, Wichita. And that will include those other items, 37, 8, 9, 40, 41, 42, and 44. Okay. Okay. So 36 is add 5 million SGF to supplement federal block grant funding for substance use disorder for non-Medicaid eligible populations. And this comes out of the opioid money, and I would support half of that for 2 years and a report. Now we're back to 43, I think. No, not 40, yeah. So 43 is add 1.1 million SGF to fund 4 fellows for additional medicine training for physicians at the KU School of Medicine. That's number 43, which wasn't included in the other request. This. Not 43. Oh, I thought you said it was 44. 42, 43. Okay. Okay. So 42 and 43 are the same. Okay. So we accept. We got that one. Support implementing individual budget authority in the existing IDD waiver. Support CSW staff requesting. This item's in the governor's budget. Support implementing the community support waiver as soon as possible. Okay. Pass. Support increasing personal care service rates on all waivers to match the rate offered on the frail and elderly report or waiver. And they had 49. What was on 48? Did they get 8.6? Okay, and this, so it, okay, so it would have been 18. So kind of halving this a little bit. 48 on the personal care service, 10 million, And the increase in HCBS waiver rates to match the rates offered on the IDD, $5 million. 50, support funding the administrative case management for the BIFE PD waivers for the PACE program. This is an RFP issue. Senator Petty,
Oh, so I think the information we got was
can you
that,
turn your mic on?
sorry. I think the information we got is that the Kansas Associate, that they have submitted a request that this be included within the RFP for the contract for the MCOs. And so I would just suggest that we support that RFP.
Okay. Okay. $51, add 8.4 million SGF to increase IDD waiver reimbursement rates by 3.4% to account for inflation. I think we've already made adjustments there. Increase specialized medical care, the T1000 rate from $255 on IDD and TA waiver. Did the governor bring this up to 47?
It's currently 47.
It's currently 47. She did not recommend. I would go to 50, but it's the will of the committee.
I'll just mention, I know this is a continual issue, and we are well below our neighboring states when it comes to reimbursements for specialized care. So I certainly think it's important that we have an increase in this. I would support the 55, but
You'll take 50. Okay. Okay. Number 53, use ARPA FMAP funds to create transition to home project, which would provide one-time payment for any recipient of specialized medical care who requires 24/7 care when transitioning from the hospital to home. I think I need more information about that. Somebody else? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. 54, create an overtime reimbursement rate for providers of specialized medical care rate. I don't support. 55, increase supported employment rate. This is the same thing, isn't it? No, it's another one. $50, rate to $50 an hour. Currently at 28. Yeah, so the governor has it up to 28, yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm going to suggest that we go to 45.
Senator Kirshen, where are you at? You said 30, or no, you said the governor's. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'd go with 35. $56, increase supported employment rate, $55 per hour. That's the same thing. Yeah. 58. Yeah, that's right. Direct KDADs to implement the supported employment service definition recommendations from Lisa Mills. So do we need a definition of the service waiver? I'm not sure I understand this one. Is anybody here that wants to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Mike Burgess with the Disability Rights Center of Kansas. And as part of the NEON grant that KDAD's received, Dr. Mills provided technical assistance, and there were kind of two parts to her report. Part of it was set up what the rate should be. Part of it set up to what the service definitions should be, breaking down into different services. And so I was just encouraging you encouraging you to encourage them to adopt both pieces. So to fund the rate, but also to adopt those service definitions.
Questions for Mike? But you just want KDADs to look at the recommendations of Dr. Lisa Mills?
Yes, that it'll require waiver amendments, likely along with policy and procedure changes on their end to be able to fully implement that. But that's what the expert said would make us more effective, and that has come up in a number of different work groups as well. When you talk to or hear from the experts who do this in the field here, that's a big piece that they say. Today, they can only bill when they're with the client, and this would allow for the agency to be able to reimburse at a lower rate for services such as job development, which, you know, again, the jobs don't just fall out of the sky. It takes somebody going out and talking to employers about the need and how to, the example of the barista, where they go to the coffee shop, talk to the person that does the hiring and help them understand what accommodations are. All of that pre-work right now isn't reimbursable. So it's an important part of helping make the supported employment program truly successful.
Okay, we'll move that along.
Thank you.
Support long-term employment opportunities for individuals with IDD. Support the hiring of a TA waiver program manager. This is included in the governor's budget. Support the governor's budget amendment to add 250 individuals to IDD, 250 to PD. Items included in the governor's budget. Add 1,100 individuals to IDD. This would reduce the wait list by 20%, and it would cost $29 million in SGF. 62, 61. 63, add 500 individuals to the PD waiting list. Just 5.4 SGF. I think we'll leave those alone.
So, Madam Chair, we're supporting the governor's budget amendment to add 250 individuals as well.
We're supporting the governors, but not increasing
No
further from
increasing.
that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Senator Kirshen, did you have any kind of a proviso or anything? Maybe we already took care of it. Okay, that's taken care of. I just want to make sure everybody got taken care of here. Okay, I have a proviso language. This has to do with contract nursing services. Secretary shall be responsible for the oversight of the supplemental nursing services agencies through any actions necessary to ensure compliance with annual registration and quarterly reporting. Person who operates a supplemental nursing services agency in Kansas shall register annually with the Secretary by completing a form established by the Secretary, pay a registration fee of $2,035, submit a report to the Secretary on a quarterly basis for each healthcare facility that participates in Medicare and Medicaid with a supplemental nursing services agency contracts. Such report shall include detail of the list of the average amount charged to the healthcare facility for each individual agency worker category and paid by the agency to agency workers in each individual agency worker category. So I think everybody knows what's happening. We have issues where people go to become a traveling nurse, decide after a year or two to come back home, and next thing you know, they found out the contract has a non-compete clause in there, and it makes it hard for them to go back home. And then there's some other issues that are occurring as well. There is a fiscal note of approximately, wait, what is this? This is so the cost to do the program would be $75,000, but they estimate they'll recoup $50,000 in registration fees. So it'd be a $25,000 cost of SGF. Let's see. Huh? Yeah, it's a proviso. I hope that everybody will support. All right.
Two proposals?
Dan's, and then she had one, and then that was mine. I think that's all I saw, unless there's something else out there I don't know about. Huh? I think that's right. It's KDHE. Yeah, we got DCF and KDHE. It's in there. It's more. I don't know, these kind of all blur together. Well, first off, is there anything else to be added or brought before us that we know of on the KDAD's budget? Okay, good, okay. And then, so we'll close on that, and then the Healthcare Stabilization Fund Board of Governors, are there any changes? No? So we'll approve the healthcare stabilization budget? Okay. All right, stands approved. Is there anything else to come before us? If not, we are adjourned.